Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today I'm bringing you something a little bit different. This is still a Pokkén video, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be worried about that. But today, we are going to be talking about the controller. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Pokemon or Namco or whoever, Hori I believe is actually the manufacturer, have released a special controller just for Pokkén. And one of the most common questions I've been asked since I've been talking to people about Pokkén and shouting at people about Pokkén and posting videos about Pokkén has been, is it worth getting that controller? Is that controller actually worth it? So rather than just a quick yes or a no, I thought we would have a little bit of a look at this Pro Pad, as it is called, and have a discussion as to whether it is better or not. So let's start off positive, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start off with a happy smile on our faces and go through the pros. And first of all, and this is a biggie, it's got a better D-pad. The directional pad is much better, much easier. In a fighting game, this is a huge advantage. Now, weirdly, this is one of the few fighting games I've ever played that doesn't have the classic Hadouken input, by which I mean down to forward, or indeed the opposite, which is how you would do, with a button push of course, a Hadouken in the classic Street Fighter 2 game. This is an input which has been copied by almost every fighting game ever, and is exceptionally difficult to do on an analog stick. It is an absolute pain to get the required precision. Not so on a good D-pad. And now, to be fair, the Wii U controller, the normal one with a screen and all that, has a decent D-pad. But the Pokkén Tournament one is so much better. Much better, much easier to use. It is better. Secondly, in terms of the button placement, I don't know how technical I can be about this, but it's just plain better. The little facing pads, they're nicer, ladies and gentlemen. They're bigger, they're not so close together, or at least they don't feel so close together. They're just much nicer and easier to use. And while we're talking about things like that, it is so much more comfortable in your hands, ladies and gentlemen. The Wii U, I like the Wii U controller. Let me be very clear about this. There are games like the Kirby game, and he's all made out of clay, and to control him, and I did a video about this actually on my old channel, Wassy Plays. I haven't done anything with that for a while, but I'll stick the video in the description so you can have a look. And you would use a stylus to draw little paths that Clay Kirby would follow. I love the Wii U controller. For a fighting game, however, it is big, it is heavy, it is cumbersome. Now, yes, if you want to actually be watching Pokkén Tournament on the screen, sitting in bed playing it, sitting and playing it on the sofa while your lady watches telly, etc., I can see the point. But otherwise, the Wii U controller is big and unwieldy. The Pro Pad is much smaller, it fits in your hands very ergonomically, it's very comfortable to hold, and it is an awful lot better. While we're talking about good things, let's talk about the shoulder buttons. The shoulder buttons on the Pro Pad are ginormous, ladies and gentlemen. They're huge. They are so easy to hit. The left button calls in your support Pokemon, the right button blocks, and when you push both of them together, it does your synergy burst, and then when you've done your synergy burst, it does your burst attack. The shoulder buttons need to be used regularly throughout the game, and they're big and easy to hit. On the default control scheme, and of course you can change this if you go into the options, it's the regular shoulder buttons L and R, not the slightly further back ZL and ZR, which are the primary shoulder buttons, the ones you use on the Wii U controller, and it's not particularly comfortable. Trying to get your hands up around, your fingers up around the corners while you're playing is a right pain in the neck, and I don't like it at all. Now, I did, so that I could be fully informed with this video, I did go and play a few games with the Wii U controller, and oh my goodness, I'm glad I'm never gonna have to do it again. Wait, am I giving away the ending of the video? Probably not. Speaking of which, and it's not even remotely related, but I needed a segue of some description, there is no lag. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you're not a hardcore fighting game fanatic that looks at frame rates, etc., this might mean a bit less to you, but whenever you're using a wireless controller, there is inevitably a very small amount of lag. Now, for your ordinary person sitting playing a couple of games with their mates of an evening, you'll never notice. But for a fighting game fanatic where you are literally trying to time attacks, between individual frames, it does make a big difference, and there is no lag on the Pro Pad because it's wired. The other thing about having a wired controller, if you have a nice long gaming session, it's not going to run out of charge. If you forget to charge it, I mean, to be honest, if you forget to charge the Wii U controller, then you can just sit there and plug it in anyway. But I like wired controllers. I've been playing my Xbox 360 lately. I've been playing The Division. Just as a side note, that is an awesome game. It's eating into my Pokkén time, and that's a little bit sad. However, I keep playing for too long, and I've actually gone and got a plug and charge kit so I can actually just sit there and have it as a wired controller. I like wired controllers. No lag, no charging, and no possibility that you sit at a funny angle and it loses the connection with the games console. It's fun. However, now I've just said a lot of good things about the Pro Pad. Let's look at the negatives. And there are a couple of negatives, but they aren't big. First of all, you can't play without a TV. Well, it isn't actually true. Now, what I'm basically saying here is that when you've got the Wii U controller, you've got a screen in the middle of it, you can sit there, put your feet up and play on that screen. Whereas with the Pro Pad, you have to have the telly on, so if your wife, girlfriend, friend, etc. wants to use the television, then you can't play Pokkén with the Pro Pad, but you can with a Wii U controller. Now, to be fair, that's not strictly true. You can actually put the Wii U controller and prop it up against something as a little telly, and then play with the Pro Pad, watching it on the Wii U controller, but I think we can all assume that that's a little bit silly. Secondly, there is no analog stick on the Pro Pad. Now, usually, fighting game analog stick, my answer would be, oh my goodness, are you a savage? There are a couple of compelling reasons you might wish to use an analog stick other than being a savage. First of all, when you are in the field phase and you're running around in 3D, it can take a little while to get used to doing it on a D-pad. It is much more intuitive on an analog stick. The other thing, of course, because the Hadouken input, down to forward, is not used in Pokkén, or at least not in the 6 or 7 characters I've used so far, that was the main thing which is really annoying on analog sticks, although just to be clear, fighting games, D-pads, it just makes sense. And to be honest, the biggest downside of the Pro Pad, you can't have 2 people using it at one time. Now this is somewhat necessary given that when you look at it, especially in field phase, one person, if you're both playing on the same telly, one person is having a horrible, horrible view. So when you're playing multiplayer, one person has to use a Wii U controller, one person has to use the Pro Pad. And if I'm playing against you and you make me use a Wii U controller, I will consider us to not be very good friends. So the question I was posing in this video, the question I was trying to answer is it worth trying to get one of these Wii U Pro Pads? And the answer is, oh my goodness, absolutely, unequivocally yes. I absolutely love this controller. I only used the Wii U controller for the very first time to actually make this video. That was the first time I actually tried using it because I had no interest whatsoever in trying to use it, and after using it for a couple of games in preparation for this video, I can confirm that unless I'm playing multiplayer with someone that hates me enough to make me use a Wii U controller, I will be never using it again. Now, the awkward postscript to this video is unfortunately that they are very difficult to get hold of at this moment. Now, I'm very mad at myself because I pre-ordered one on Amazon, then I pre-ordered one on the Nintendo store and cancelled my Amazon pre-order. They cost, at the time, £20, think roughly $30 US. And I cancelled my Amazon one because I got my Nintendo pre-order. Well, at the moment, if you go on the Nintendo store in the UK, it's not even showing up as an item, it's only showing up as a bundle with Pokkén, and it's out of stock. On Amazon.co.uk, the cheapest one there is £50, plus £2 delivery, and looking on eBay, there is one for £20 plus £3 postage, but it's an auction and it's almost certainly going to go up. If you want to buy it now, the cheapest one on there is just over 40 quid. So you are going to be paying above the odds. However, I repeat what I said. If you are going to be playing a lot of Pokkén and you intend to be playing this a lot and you want to be playing it in tournaments with your friends, if like me you're going to be playing it for 2 or 3 hours a day, every day, potentially forever, you really should think about getting one. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Click that like button. I'll give you a moment. And as always, if you haven't clicked it by now, I can only assume you hate me on a personal level, and this upsets me, this hurts me on my insides. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and you get a friend to subscribe on your behalf if you have. And make sure you comment down below, do you have one of these pads? What do you think about it? Do you not have one but want to get one, etc.? And of course, by far the most important thing, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.